Welcome back, my awesome second grade. We are transitioning and we're going to start writing a little bit differently now. This next unit that we're jumping right into is all about writing like a scientist and is really exciting because it gives you all a chance to create your own experiment, record it down, and then you are able to share it with anybody else around. We conduct experiments and we use a lab report so that we can show our results, just like real scientists do. And we're going to record what we expect to happen and what exactly does happen. So this is our giant plan. First, we're going to do an experiment together. That's what part of this video is all about, is we're getting ready to just do one together as a whole class. When we're done with that experiment, then you can conduct your own on your absolute own, which is really cool. And you might get some ideas from the experiment that we do together, or yours might just come right out of your mind. It's something that you really want to try out and see what happens. So let's jump right into what we're going to do today. Let's go over what a lab report looks like. And it all starts off with a question. And it's something about the world around us. And the question that I'm going to have us all do together is kind of a fun one. And I'm going to pull out my writing so you can see what the question is. So while you're watching this video, you have a packet of paper, just like this, at home. And I'd like you to start recording down what I already recorded so that when you come back to class, you're all set to start doing this experiment. All right, let me get this out of the way. Let's see what the question is that we are going to explore. So here's the problem or the question. Will this toy car go further off the ramp on carpet or bare floor? And I'll show you that car. And here it is. It's just a little toy car like this. And not quite a ramp, but we're going to be using a clipboard instead. A bunch of books so we can create a ramp, and we're going to see if this toy car goes further on carpet or on bare floor. So I'm going to have you guys record down this problem that we have, or question. You can call it either one. It's either a problem or a question. Either one is fine. But record down this. Will this toy car go further off the ramp on carpet or bare floor? So feel free to pause the video here and write that down. Once you're done recording that problem, we're going to go into this next part, and it has a really cool name, a really good second grade name. It's called a hypothesis. Oh, I love that word so much. It's a word that scientists use all the time, and all it is it's what do you think will happen? It's an answer to your question. That's all a hypothesis is. So you're going to use a really good educated second grade guess. And think about it. So we have this toy car going off a ramp, and we're going to be doing it on two different surfaces. One is a smooth surface, like a bare floor, and the other one is kind of a rough surface, like a carpet. And you're going to make your guess here of what's going to happen. So is it going to go further on the bare floor or on the carpet? And the answer that I came up with, and you might have a different opinion, but since we're doing this together, I'm going to have you record it down, is that it will go farther on the bare floor because the texture is smoother. So notice I have an answer, but I also gave a reason. I use that because word. So I'm really making an educated guess here that the texture has something to do with it on the floor, and that's going to affect if this truck goes further or if it goes a little bit shorter than the other. So right here, go ahead and pause the video. I'd like you to record down the hypothesis. It will go farther on bare floor because the texture is smoother. All right. When you're all done with that, we get to go into the next part of this experiment, which is our procedure. How are we going to do this experiment? Because in the real world, scientists create these lab reports, and they often will hand it off to another person to repeat the experiment, maybe because that person just wants to try it out, or the first scientist just wants to make sure that the results that he came up with is accurate, right? So we're going to create a procedure for this experiment so that it's set up the same way each time that we do it. So while you're at home for this procedure, all I want you to do is write procedure. And this is going to be on the second page. So I'll write that up here too. This is on page 2. Just write procedure. Don't worry about writing anything in today. All right? Okay. The third page, page number 3, is going to be this. It's your first trial. So trial 1 on our third page. You're going to do the experiment. We're going to do it 2 or 3 times, and you're going to record your results. But remember, you guys are getting ready to do this in the classroom. So we're not going to be recording down any results today, but I want this page to be ready for when we do put results down. And so this is something that you guys can create in your picture box because it's going to look very similar to this. We're going to use 3 books, the ramp, which is a clipboard, and I wrote down carpet because that's the surface that we're on, and then there's a tape measure and the toy as well. So you guys can pull out your third page, and on top of your third page, all you're going to do is write experiment number 1. So this is page 3. I'll write that up here too. Page 3. Okay? So once that is done, the next part of our lab report is our 4th page. And this is where we make a slight change to what we want to figure out. So we're going to repeat the experiment with only 1 change. If you remember back, I'll go back to my first page for a second, back to our problem. Will this toy car go further off the ramp on carpet or bare floor? See, that's our 1 change. That's the only thing that we're changing in the experiment. So our 4th page is trial number 2, or experiment number 2, whatever you want to call it. We're going to do it 2 or 3 times and record our results again. And remember, you can go up in the picture box and draw the same picture, except there's only 1 change, right? And that is we're on a bare floor. So I'll pull out my 4th page so you guys can see what you need to do. I wrote experiment number 2, and this is page 4, just so you know. Page 4 is experiment number 2. That's all you need to write. Just write it right at the top for me. So when we do that second experiment, we can start writing about it. And feel free in the picture box to create what that experiment might look like. And again, this is what it'll look like. We'll have about 3 books, a ramp, which is a clipboard. I wrote down bare floor because that's the surface we're on now, and a tape measure, and our little toy car. So that's page number 4. The last page that you need to get ready for me is page number 5. And we are going to analyze and have a conclusion here. We're going to now look at all the results that we got from both experiments, and we're going to ask ourselves, was your hypothesis right or wrong? And that's a very quick yes or no answer. Yes, my hypothesis was right, or no, my hypothesis was wrong. And let's just pop back to that first page that you've already written down. Our hypothesis is what we think is going to happen. It will go farther on the bare floor because the texture is smoother. So this last page, we're not going to be able to do for a little while because we need to conduct our experiments and see what happens. And we'll talk about what happens with this little car on carpet versus the bare floor. And the last part of that is, why do you think it was right or wrong? And that's when we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the data that we collected, all those results, and figure out if we were right or wrong. So just to recap, what you need to do so that we are all set and ready for in the classroom is this. Let me get my exit over here. There we go. You guys are going to get a packet all ready for a lab report. And remember, the very first page is this, and I'm asking you to copy everything down just like here. And remember, there is a backside to this page. So if you need to extend probably your hypothesis, it can go onto the backside of that first page. And I can always just write page 1 at the top so that we are never forgetting. Page 1. And feel free to also put materials in here, just those 3 materials up in the picture box. You can draw little pictures of them too. That would be very helpful. So that's what you're doing on page 1. Page 2, you're writing procedure, which we're going to do together in class when we're setting up the experiment. You're going to also write at home experiment number 1. And remember, you can draw a picture of experiment number 1, remembering that it will look something like this. A couple of books, a ramp, tape measure, our car, and the type of surface that we're on. Then moving on to page number 4, you're writing experiment number 2, and you're also doing a picture in this picture box for me so that we can see what that experiment looks like. And then our last page, you only need to write results/conclusion. Results/conclusion. If you can do all that for me at home, when you come back into the classroom, we can hop in and just start doing these experiments, which are super fun. And that way, let's get back to my plan here. That way, once we finish doing an experiment together, then you can conduct your own experiment. So let's get this first part done. We're going to try to do it as quickly as possible. That's why I'm having you guys do some of the work at home, and then we can do the rest of it here in the classroom so that you guys can get into number 2 sometime after Thanksgiving break before Christmas. We'll be able to get you guys in to do your own experiment. Okay, so let's get this first packet done and ready for the classroom, and we'll be off and running 2nd grade. So good job, and I will see you all in just a little bit.